LinhVi, Vietnamese American Arizona Television.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to VAATV.com, to the real estate world, and especially to the beginner who wants to do an investment and earn some profit. There are so many situations out there, and knowledge is the power. That is the reason why we have Scott Bartlowe from SF Fuller Real Estate Investment come to the studio to provide all the information needed to start the investment from small to large, even for our own properties. In our, like last week, we discussed some of the investment for the real single family residence and the commercial. And then I start asking the very basic question. And then the audience say like they want to know in certain criteria, because most of them out there, they already purchased a property and they kind of know what like the transaction and the commission and all that. Okay. So they raise a question very interesting about the deed, because a lot of people taking title and they just follow up whatever the real estate agent provided say, okay, you take title like joint tenant, but they don't even know exactly the meaning, and like especially with husband and wife, you know, so they want to ask a question.
Well, before we get into that, one thing I want to point out to everybody, and it's the Arizona Buyers Advisory. We've got a slide on it, but this advisory is about 15 pages long, and it touches on things like how to do your inspections, all the different types of things that we've talked about the past few weeks. It's incorporated in this document, and if you need a copy of it, I can get you a copy, and I'll provide my information at the end. But if you're working with a realtor, they should, and you're a buyer, they should give you a copy. But it talks about the importance of all of those types of things, including title commitment, how you go about the process of it, and the title companies can help you with it as well. And many of the things that we talked about, the inspections, all of those types of things are covered in there. But to the point on your question about how do you go about taking title? Let's talk real quickly, because there's two things that are very important. Number one is the deed, and the deed is a legal document. That's what goes to the county recorder, and that's what shows that you're the legal owner. Now, in that deed, there is a place where it talks about the legal way that you are taking ownership. And we have a slide on this one as well. So here's a number of ways to take legal title in Arizona. And of course, Arizona is a community property state. So we can talk about the various ways, but the biggest thing about being in a community property state is if a husband and wife, if one of them passes away, the ownership goes over to the single surviving individual immediately. It doesn't have to go through court. You don't have to go through a bunch of other steps in order for that to happen. And in many of these cases, you'll see where there's joint tenancy with survivorship. It's another way of taking title. And that way, say you have a brother and a sister. They're not married, or you have two friends and they invest in a property, and with the intent that if one of them were to pass away early, to allow that property to go to the other member. Then, of course, there's several other different ways. As a realtor, I am not allowed to advise someone on how to take title. And once again, you can see that some of the various methods up there, tenants in common. Those in the deed, those
joint tenant with right of survival.
That's exactly right.
So why is like sometimes I see only like joint tenant, but they don't have the word behind it.
Well, joint tenants might be suppose you have an LLC and you buy it with another LLC, and they're two unrelated parties, but they're businesses that are buying the property, so they don't have the same types of rights on survivorship necessarily, because they're not living, breathing entities like a person.
Like a person. Oh, I see.
But there's several different categories, and sometimes what you really want to do is you want to talk to a legal professional or a tax person to make sure that you're getting the appropriate level or the appropriate type of way that you take title.
So like the title. I see what's the difference for like husband and wife can also do as joint tenant. Why is like only husband and wife can take as communities community? I mean, what you call it?
Community property.
Community property instead of joint tenant.
Well,
so both are the same, meaning the same?
No, not necessarily. The idea between community property with right of survivorship, it's aimed specifically at the husband and wife. Because that's the most common way that folks buy homes.
Okay.
You know, they're going to live in the home. If one of them were to pass away, it would immediately revert to the other surviving spouse.
Okay.
Where you have joint tenants with right of survivorship, that's where you may have people that are unrelated who purchase the property, or you may have family members who are not married who purchase the property. So it's not quite the same, but you do want to allow that survivorship ability to pass through to whoever is the surviving
leftover
person.
on the deed,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So what about their family of these pass away? It doesn't matter. It's just going to pass over to whoever left on the deed.
Well, that's exactly right. But on occasion, you may end up in a situation where it has to go back and you have to go through probate. There is a way where you can also put the deed into a trust, and then the family trust. Like you could have, I could have a trust, the Scott Bartlowe Revocable Living Trust, and I put my deed in there. If something were to happen to me, my beneficiaries would be my children, so it would go back to them under the trust.
I see.
The whole idea on some of these different methods of taking title is avoiding court and not having to go through probate.
Because I see like tenancy in common, the same thing. Like if they invest together, but they each have their own family.
Exactly.
Or entity.
Or
so they don't want to pass over to the leftover, right?
That's correct.
So they have their share.
So they specifically have their share, and there's an agreement, but the difference is that it gets split.
Okay.
According to
like
their
whatever
percentage
that say
ownership.
on that, like 1/3,
Yes.
1/2, or
Exactly.
like that. So the way how they do like that. The question, like the husband and wife, let's say when they take the title as their own, like a person purchased that, but they don't want to have the spouse on it, and they want to take title like a married man, so and separate, something like that.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So when they do that, and if they don't go through, let's say if they don't go through escrow, they do like just the transfer and get the money over like that. Is the spouse later on can come back and claim for the property, right?
Most of the time, the title does not want the. If you're in that type of situation, there is a separate document that needs to be signed. So say
Is that like?
Say I'm going to sign. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the property as a married man as my sole and separate property.
Right.
In the state of Arizona, because this is a community property state.
Right.
My wife would have to sign a document saying that she's aware that I'm buying this property and I'm putting it solely in my name, and she approves of that transaction.
And if something happened to you, will she be able to get it? Or?
Well, that all depends on what your arrangements are as far as your inheritance. If you have a revocable living trust and that property is in the trust and she is the beneficiary of it, it will flow to her.
I see.
If it's not, and there is no setup like that with the trust, it may have to go to probate in front of a judge, and most likely it will end up being hers at some point.
Right.
But the additional expense of hiring an attorney to represent her and get all of that taken care of becomes a little bit more exorbitant.
Yeah. So like ended up she didn't have anything, or he doesn't have anything.
Yes.
I was thinking like, because it's important, like when the title, to avoid the ownership of the property for whoever passed away and the person left can owns it, is that they have to put in the right title.
That's correct.
Let's say, like you said, like instead of you don't do trust on the title, but you do your own name only, as sole and separate, then that's the time is causing issue, right? They have to go through
probate
with the paperwork of the trust.
Yep, and probate is nothing more than a legal function. It ends up going in front of a judge. The vast majority of time, the immediate heirs, are the ones that inherit the proceeds from the person that passes away. But it's always better to have a plan before things happen. That way, if it does have to go to the judge, it makes it easy for the judge
to see those.
Even if it's a handwritten will and it's notarized, it's better than not having anything at all.
So, like, if let's say if they so you say like Arizona is the husband and wife state. So you mean like even though the title taken doesn't matter in whichever way, whatever occur after the other person passed away, then it's going to go directly to the spouse. Is that what that is?
Correct.
Oh, so it's just automatically like.
Yep.
Oh, I see. Oh, I didn't know that.
it goes really smoothly, and for a husband and wife with rights of survivorship with community property, it's the smoothest way of transitioning when one of them passes away, so that the surviving spouse doesn't have to go through a bunch of legal actions to get it put into their name.
Right, even though like their name is not on there before.
Correct.
It's like that, yeah. How about how can they prove? I mean, like, how do you consider a person as a married and not married? Like if like they gotta have a marriage certificate to prove that, or they.
I think most people are pretty good about volunteering that information. The title companies, once you make an offer. And that's an accepted contract. The title company sends out a package, and they collect information from both parties, from both the seller and the buyer. And one of those questions is, are you married? Who's your spouse? And so you need to answer truthfully, because this is a legal document. So I've never seen anybody answer untruthfully.
Untrue, right? Yeah. Because I'm wondering how do they verify that? If they have a paperwork, but like some of the people I know, like they just stay with each other for a long time, and then they never do paperwork, but it's considered husband and wife. So
it is, but it's a little bit outside my area of expertise. I mean, that's something that I would if there's a question
like
about.
That's something to think about. Like think about and raise up and like know how to take the title, so that like the person that stay back. If something happened, then you're here can get it, instead of like losing up to the state, right?
And
so,
and it's not uncommon in this day and age to have couples who are living together.
Yeah.
And common law marriage and everything like that.
Right.
In those instances, once again, I always recommend that they talk to an attorney.
They have to, yeah. They have to kind of like have something, because if they don't, then maybe the reason like, oh, you don't have paperwork, so you cannot acquire this. But they actually have a kid together, let's say, for that.
Yep.
So those are something that really people are going to have to look into it. Right?
That's exactly right.
Buy the property.
Because what they really are trying to do is protect the property from having to go through probate.
Right.
Having to spend extra money trying to get who owns it.
Who owns it? Yeah, right. But so the will, I mean, like even the living trust, right? The living trust is like is not revocable, non-revocable. It's like they just gotta have something. Like just gotta put down something.
I always
and notarize it.
Go at a bare minimum. Put your thoughts down and notarize it. But it's always better to go to a professional and get it done exactly right. And then that way, for something like a trust, you avoid probate. You don't have to go to a judge. So it's already taken care of that way.
Yeah. Just like the bank, the same thing. When they put in their name in the trust is really different than they just put their name in individual. But like sometimes banks have their own policy. They always do like beneficiary. But what if like nobody thought about anything? It just happened, right? So if they don't have the beneficiary on the paperwork, that's where they have to look into it. Well, they have to gotta have something. Right?
Exactly right. What it does is it throws into question the entire process of transferring that property to somebody else. And it actually, when you think about it, if you don't have anything, the opportunity for somebody who is further related to sneak in and make a claim comes up. And so
Yes.
that's your
Like the
your long lost nephew who
yeah.
had been seen for 25 years. All of a sudden he's going, hey, I've got that property. I've got an ownership claim on that property. Well, you want to make it legitimate, and so that's why you want to be able to protect your heirs, your immediate family, or whoever you want to.
A lot of like interesting things, like the man passed away and then ended up he has so many wives from each state. What happened to that?
Oh, that one.
That's a go to attorney.
That's an attorney's function. That's not a realtor's.
Yeah, but the real property is that's important that we
Yes.
bring it up for the question for the audience. How you take the title will give you a peace of mind when things occur.
Exactly.
Anything occur, nobody know anything happen.
I've got a sample here of a deed, and
yeah. Oh yeah, different type of deed. Yeah, that's important too. Yeah.
So when you're talking about deeds,
Yes.
there's a lot of different deeds, and you'll see up there warranty. We're all familiar with warranties. If you buy an appliance or something, what's the warranty do? It kind of protects you. It gives you a degree of protection. Well, that's the same thing with warranty deeds. There's more protections there.
Yes.
On a warranty deed, it pledges that the grantor, and I'm going to use grantor and grantee.
Grantor and grantee. Yes.
The grantor is the person that gives something. The grantee is the person that receives it.
Okay.
So with a general warranty deed, the grantor is selling the property, and they are warranting that they have the legal capacity to transfer that property. In other words, that they're the true owner, and that they can sell the property, and that there's going to be no other claims on the property of other ownership.
For me, I've been purchasing property, right?
Yes.
But I hardly see the warranty deed. I see a lot of grantee, right? So does that depend on the state? Like certain state, they take that, or because I know in California they hardly they don't use warranty deed. Actually, they do grant deed majority, and then click on the
a grant deed. If we can go back to that list, may or may not have a warranty to it.
But will the title take it though?
Yes.
They'll take the warranty deed. So it's good that we request to have the seller sign the warranty deed instead of grant deed. We can do that. Can we do that?
And the title company may decide that that's the way that they're going to do the deed, because when they do the preliminary title report, they're going to go back and they're going to see how that previous owner, how they took title, and what the strength of their ownership position is. So the higher that you can get, the more of a warranty that you can get on the deed, the better off you are, the safer you are.
Yeah, I wonder why we don't use the warranty deed, because that's protect a lot.
Well, in many cases, if it's just between two parties and you're not going through a full title search and everything, sometimes it's just the easiest way to do it.
I see. Oh, if this is like outside the escrow, like for separate owner.
Right.
Like each,
say your neighbor's got a piece of land and you want to buy it, you just go directly to your neighbor and he says, yeah, I'll sell it to you for a certain amount, and he signs off.
But the county recorder take it. The county recorder will accept it. Like, this is the piece of property, can transfer the property. I see.
You can pretty well record anything you want.
Oh, yeah. But like I said, that's why we record it. But like when the judge, they check it, like legal, like they say, like, is this the right document?
Well, when you get away from having a deed that doesn't have a warranty on it, you always can have the possibility of somebody making a claim on it and clouding the phrase,
title.
Cloud the title. Where somebody can come in and make a claim. That's why you want a deed that has a warranty to it.
Oh, but like, so all of the transactions that I've been through, I don't see the warranty deed. Would that protect me? I mean, with the title, title, because we have the title already, right? Would you say like, this is the only for outside for like if they just deal with each other,
Right.
and they don't go through
They don't
escrow
do it.
or title or agent.
Maybe they go ahead and they record it themselves. They don't get title insurance, or they don't have a title commitment and don't do the title search.
But down the line, when they sell the property, then the title company will accept that deed into the new name. They
will accept the deed, but they will say, once you go into a title company, the title company has kind of a unique role. First off, they're a fiduciary.
Right, fiduciary.
And it means that they're basically I wouldn't say disinterested person or party, but what they are is they're a neutral party. So whatever the buyer or the seller is doing, the title company will try to make sure that it all fits legally.
Okay.
They will do the title search, they'll do a title commitment, and then when it's time, if it's done through the title company, say you're buying a piece of land and you're getting a loan on it.
Okay.
So one thing you can do is you can get title insurance. The seller will provide you, the buyer, title insurance to guarantee that, or to protect you that against any defaults or any clouds in the title. If you have a lender, the lender is going to insist on his own policy, and the buyer generally pays for the lender's policy because they're getting the funds from the lender. They're borrowing it.
So it's very important. Like they have to go through the title, right, to make sure like anything past their time, like prior, they don't worry about it. If they don't do that, they don't go through a title for closing. Then the chance that if somebody pop up right after the closing, then their responsibility still have to consider, because that's their property now, and that person has a paper to claim for the
exactly
things, right?
It can create questions over ownership. Even after if you got one of these deeds that does not have a warranty to it, somebody from the outside at a later date, sometimes days later or years later, can come in and make a claim that they have an ownership interest in it. And so that's
with the previous name. Previous, they don't care. But this is a piece of property that they lien on, right?
Right. So it's always best, in my mind, to go through the title company and get the title search
That's
done.
Important.
Because they can go back. But, like anything else, title company is made up of people, and occasionally people miss things and they make mistakes. Hence the reason why you have title insurance.
Right. Yeah.
You could say you bought a piece of property and you're sitting there and everything is nice and good, and all of a sudden here comes a claim from the homeowners association or a claim of a contractor, and that claim had never been satisfied during escrow.
Wow.
And the title company had not even seen the claim. That protects you against those claims popping up. What's a little bit different about title insurance, we buy homeowners insurance, we buy auto insurance, and what do we buy it for? We buy it for protection in case we have an accident or we have a fire or something at home. What title insurance does, it protects you from something that happened before.
I see.
Something in the past. So if it comes up, then you're protected. And sometimes it can be pretty expensive if somebody wants to make a claim on your title. And suppose you had a piece of land and you wanted to either sell that land or you wanted to develop that land. Imagine if you had somebody that was claiming a portion of ownership on it, what that would do to you as you're trying to do that development. It would basically hamper your ability to get funding because a lender doesn't want to lend if there's a question on title.
Things on there messy.
They want to make sure that that's cleaned up before they lend.
So let's say if they already purchased that piece of property and now they are selling it.
Yes.
Is that too late to go into the title, and will the title take it from there to the new buyer?
Yeah, to the
new buyer.
Yeah, every time you have a transaction, the title company will start the whole process over again. And so they're essentially doing due diligence for both the buyer and the seller to make sure that there are no previous claims on ownership of the property. As the owner, you want to be free and clear, unencumbered from anything in the past.
So like let's say if the title find out there's something against that current seller, but it's really belong to the previous seller, then what they gonna do?
Sometimes there's multiple ways of resolving it. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I had a property, just a piece of land that I was selling for my client. And he had purchased this from the next owner over. The next owner over owned a car wash and had overbuilt, had spent too much money on it. And so the business model was bad. They weren't producing enough income. And he needed, at the time, he needed to sell that lot that my client bought so that he could take that money, infuse it back into the business and stay afloat. So that's how my client came to own it. A few years later, my client decides he wants to sell it, and that's where I came in.
Right.
So then we go into escrow, and when I receive the title commitment, I see that there's a loan on there, a lien that must be satisfied.
Oh boy.
So my client had purchased that all cash.
Oh my.
There was no lien on it when he purchased it.
Yeah, right.
So long story short, what we found was that when the gentleman that owned the car wash, he went and got another note so that he could borrow money to help come into the car, keep the car wash afloat.
Oh boy. Is that private loan?
Yeah, it was a private loan.
Private loan. Okay.
So when he went out and he got that loan and they did the legal description on it, they had added my client's property in there. You know, previously he had all three properties because there were two lots that the car wash was on. But he took my client's property and it had the same legal description. So it put an encumbrance on my client's property that had to be cleared. So that a potential cloud on the title. So we ended up having to track down the folks who had made the private money loan.
Right.
And once we explained it to them, I had to talk to their attorney.
Right.
Everybody was very understanding that we had nothing to do with it. The other guy was defaulting on the loan to them,
right. So,
but we had nothing to do with it. So their attorney got them to do a release for us, and we proceeded with no lien.
Oh, so then they will chase after the person that owns them, right? The
Exactly
previous
right.
one.
Exactly right.
Oh, I see.
And sadly, in that particular instance, the guy that had the car wash, he went bankrupt and he was foreclosed on.
Oh, boy.
So that the folks who had put the, they were in second place on their loan, and so they didn't get any money.
Now, because of when you say that, there's something that I know people out there are also interesting because let's say if they have money to become a private lender, you know, like they can loans it to anything, and they find the people that need it and grant the loan, right? But important, like when you just mentioned, they gotta know what the position. Right? And enough equity, right? Or something, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah,
you want to be in the first position. You want to do, if you as a private individual are lending money to someone, you want to act just like a bank would. You want to do your credit evaluations. You want to see everything from that person. You want the title report. You want title insurance.
Right.
And by being in second position, you may have, if there's a foreclosure action, you need to understand, you may not get money out of it. The person
they
that's
only
holding
take care of the first one, really.
Sometimes it's just the person or the entity that's in first position. Sometimes they're the only one that gets paid. Now, if the amount due with the two different say you got two loans on it,
right?
And the first loan from the proceeds from the bankruptcy or the foreclosure sale is enough to pay that first one off.
Yeah.
Whatever is left would
then
go to the second.
Oh.
So there's a, we've talked a number of times. Risk in lending is part of it in this one as well.
Yeah.
So you need to go into it educated and with your eyes wide open. The best thing is always first position.
First position, yeah, exactly.
And I can tell you something else.
Yeah.
And I'll use this as a quick example. Suppose I buy a piece of land.
Yes.
And I want to build my own home there.
Right.
So I get a loan, or maybe I get a loan from the landowner. He says, "Okay, Scott, you can pay this land off over 3 years, So he's in first position on that land because there's no other loan.
Nobody, yes.
Now I go to a lender and I want to get a construction loan. In many cases, the lender says, we're going to buy out that land loan so that it is all one package and we're in first position.
Okay.
Because what they're doing is
they want to protect
risk.
the lender.
Reduce risk.
Yeah, reduce risk. I see. Wow, that's good to know, because I see many, like during my investment time, I saw like a lot of people, they do, even though in the second position, but they believe that the property has enough equity to cover. But that's so risk, like you said, bankrupt.
But and it may have. You know, if you think about HELOCs, home equity loan of line of credit.
Line of credit. Yes.
That's a second loan.
Yeah.
And you know, the banks are not in the business of losing money. They're in the business of making money. So they have to be pretty sure that there's sufficient equity,
back, right?
Both to pay off the first note as well as the second note.
So who determine like when the property foreclose and who sell it? Who, the state?
Well, that's an interesting question. and let's go back to that list of deeds again. Okay, you see down there at the bottom, it says deeds by trust.
Deed by trust.
Deed of trust.
Trustee. Yeah.
Okay.
Deed by trust.
Let's start with deed of trust.
Deed of trust.
What does that mean? The deed. Most people are familiar with mortgages.
Right.
In the state of Arizona, we're a deed of trust state, and what that means is that, I'll back up real quick. But in a state that's a mortgage state,
yes,
if you default on your mortgage, the judge can order the foreclosure sale. In the state of Arizona, as a deed of trust state, you will have, as the owner, you're giving your right to be held by a title company or a trustee to hold title, and they have the right under the deed of trust. If you default on your loan, they can begin foreclosure proceedings without going to the judge.
Yeah.
And so here in the state of Arizona, typically if you're behind 90 days, then the trustee will send a notice.
Right.
And a lot of times people say, well, you know, they got the notice of default is what it's called, a NOD.
Notice of default.
And that essentially sets the trustee's sale or the foreclosure action out at 90 days. Here, right now, with most of the folks that are here in the Valley, if they purchased 2-3 years ago, they have more than sufficient equity already built up in their homes.
Exactly.
That if they don't need to be dragged into a foreclosure sale, they can go and do a conventional sale through a realtor if that's what they want to do. Then while I'm on that type of action, there's also something called a short sale. Yeah. And that's where the bank, who is lent the money, they can review that offer
to see if
and if they feel like it's close enough to what's owned on the balance of it, then they can go ahead and sell the property.
But then they only protect their loan, right? I mean, like they only like whatever. Let's say because they want to take the money back, so they don't care about the second position.
That's right. It's business. It's business, and at times, you know, when in 2008, when we were doing so many foreclosures and short sales, it was kind of a dog eat dog world with some of those lenders, and you know, you might have one lender who, you know, they put $200,000 down, and the next lender in second place puts $100,000 down.
Yes.
And it comes time, either in the foreclosure action, and the proceeds are only $150,000. So who gets that $150,000?
That's the first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
And what does the second one get? Zero.
Nothing.
That's exactly right. So risk is really something to weigh when you're lending money. Right. Both on the party that you're lending the money to, as well as the property that you're lending on.
See, now I see like a lot of people, when they purchase a property, I see like they have to sign, they borrow a loan and they have to sign a lot of paper, like a whole package, very thick package. But the agent told them to just focus on note, on deed of trust, and like who owns it, things like that,
Right.
and the number. But now you pointed out there's something very interesting, like within that deed of trust, because many wording in there, there's small little wording in there.
Right.
But the trustee, that's what the meaning, right? So they are the one that will have the ability to take over when the default.
In many cases, the
Yeah.
trustee is the person or the entity,
entity.
that is overseeing the note, that keeps track of the note.
Right.
A lot of times it's a title company. It becomes another fiduciary service that they can provide.
I see.
Or it may be a law firm. I've seen that, a lot of times too.
So how can how can they determine who going to be under deed of trust? Is that belong to the mortgage company then, huh?
Well, the deed of trust is written.
No, the deed of trust. I mean, like the trustee inside the deed of trust, whoever holding.
Well, the trust deed is or the trustee deed is typically issued by the trustee when the foreclosure action is concluded.
Yeah, I see.
And so it could be, it could be a law firm. It could be.
But who determine who to pick on and put it in there?
Well, that's something that can be agreed upon between the two different parties. Sometimes the lender mandates that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
As part of the loan. And if the buyer objects to it, and they've got a really good reason, you may be able to prevail upon the lender to allow a change.
Okay.
But generally speaking, they try to have an entity like
somebody
a
that
law
they connect,
firm.
right? They connect with
and somebody that's going to be there. You think about it. Many of these deeds go on for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And the loans are the same thing. Most loans that we see right now in a residence are on 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
So you're going to want to have. It's more difficult for a natural person because if you've got a person working someplace or you've got a person who is the trustee, what happens if they pass away?
Yeah, that's true.
But if you have a business, a legal entity, legal entities have much longer lives in business than
the individual.
Do.
Yeah.
So that's why frequently it's like
LLC, a corporation or something.
They'll typically use a title company or a law firm.
A law firm, yeah, because they longer.
Yeah.
Like I know, like there's some of the another things I was thinking when you talk about all these insurance with the title. A title company is very important. Like to pick some title company that well known or many years opening out there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that way.
There's essentially here in Arizona we have title companies and we have title agencies. Title companies are the long-term companies who do the same things as a title agency, but they issue their own title insurance policies.
Oh, really?
So I'll give you, so you went. Suppose you went to First American Title Insurance Company.
Right.
First American Title Insurance Company can issue both the sellers and the buyers title insurance policies.
Right.
But if you have a title agency, you don't have that big mega strength back there. So what do? You can still do all of the different things that are required in escrow, but you buy the insurance policies from someone like First American Title Insurance Company, who issues the policy.
Oh, so you mean like the title company who pick them, like on the real estate transaction, who has the right to pick them? Generally,
it's agreed upon with both parties. It's a negotiated item.
This is something new. I really don't know about. Like, there's two type of like the title company. Right?
Sometimes the seller enters into escrow before the sale even begins, and so they go to the title company with the idea that they want the title company to go ahead and do the title search, get the title commitment, and they may look at it and go, this could be a complicated property, and they want that additional time in there. On occasion, typically with houses, it's usually the buyer's choice. But if you buy a new home, it's the builder's choice. If you get a foreclosure, it's the bank's choice. So
wow.
And as the
so important, because like I know, like when we buy a piece of property, we kind of don't think about the escrow or the title. We we was thinking like, okay, just focus on the agent and who help and do all that, but not the particular any of the company for the title or anything for the escrow.
Yep. Well, and
yeah.
you know, the title companies, they're regulated here in the state, just like banks. Just so most of the
but the agent will pick the right one. I mean,
frequently.
Yeah.
And typically, the agent has developed a working relationship with the title company, and they know how they work, and they can recommend them. But just because an agent recommends it doesn't mean that you're obligated to use who the agent recommended.
Like that's why knowledge is a power. If you understand about like what you just explained, then you can kind of look into it, say, okay, this title company, who are they, how long they've been out there, and if they are agency or insurance or whatever, right? Yeah.
You know, one of the advantages of using the same title company over and over, if you're an investor and you're looking to do multiple transactions, they can give you investor rates.
Oh,
so some of you can save money on fees and everything. And the title company has already got your information, so for
easier to
whether you're a seller or a buyer in investments, it makes it easier because they've already got your information, and you know that you can get lower fees.
Right.
And I can give you another quick example. I've got a property that's for sale, and my client is the seller, and she wanted a particular title company because the property had some issues and needed to be resolved. And when we informed the buyer that we wanted to use a particular title company, they came back and said, we want to use our title company and we'll pay your fees.
Oh.
So
there's a lot of competition out there.
There's
like
competition, but you know, once again, it comes down to that's a negotiated item. Virtually everything in real estate can be negotiated, and if that's a point of if that's a point of contention for one party or the other, you know, you need to make your voice about that known and negotiate that point to your satisfaction.
The more I listen to it, the more I will see like. We miss a lot when we do the purchase transaction. There are a lot of like all these things we don't even focus. We don't even know the right title company or whatever the case. Hopefully, like nothing happened. But if something happened, then those things gonna be bring out, and those gonna be oh, why not this? Why not that?
Yep.
You know, like,
but generally speaking, the title companies, they in order to get title insurance, they all have to go through the same steps. They get the same type of information, the same type of title searches. They go back and they look through records, and
ultimately, they don't credential enough. Like
But ultimately, when you get the title insurance, whoever is actually selling the title insurance, they'll want to make sure that title background work has been done properly, because they don't want to have to pay off on a claim.
Exactly.
And some claims can be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But they cannot be like disappear, no, right? I mean, hard to become, even they are new to the market. You know, I see like a different name, I don't want to say it, but like very common, typical, like I know First American, Chicago, okay, but like some of the very different name too, you know, like the new name in the market. But they cannot just disappear. They cannot just gone, right?
No. And although, you know, some of the small title agencies can close down, it can be, you know, it can be just
they transfer all the
you
file.
and I could start a title agency tomorrow. As long as we had, say, First American Title Insurance Company, as long as we had their title insurance to sell both the lenders and the buyer's policy.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, I wouldn't recommend that you and I start a title company, because you want to have much more of a legal background on those types of things.
Exactly.
And I know even on some of the smaller title companies, they have corporate attorneys who review their documents.
Who do all that, because like it's liability, big
liability.
time. You know, like if something happened, then if they don't do it carefully, then they have to pay more. For that.
Exactly right.
So I see like sometimes with the law, we can we understand it, but it's get hooked. You have to hook into it. Like, got to do it right. If not, then you pay for it.
Yes. And one thing I would say about most title companies, when they do a package, where they're collecting information about a buyer and a seller at escrow, a lot of times I'll have a package of information that gives both parties information about the escrow process so that they can understand what's going on at each of those steps. Now, once again, it's pretty lengthy sometimes, and there's some legalese to it, but nevertheless, they provide the information, and they're monitored and licensed by the state.
Licensed by the state, yeah. So it's okay.
And for financial institutions, typically those are more cautious entities than other types of businesses, probably even more than some of the banks.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of the fiduciary role that they have.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So then, so we have all different kind of deed, and I know we have many things to cover. Let's go back to that list of deeds again. Yeah.
Okay, so the grant deed, that's typically something that's done between parties.
Yes.
And a buy-sell. But it's usually a little more casual, the relationship. You don't have realtors involved. And so the grantor can give the grantee a deed. Now, there's no guarantees to it.
Right.
Because
it doesn't have... give money, if they give money and then they get that grantee, then it's not a guarantee.
But you notice, it's not a warranty deed.
Right.
The next one down there is a mortgage deed, and that's not typical of here in Arizona. That's typical of other states who use mortgages, and as we've already discussed, we use deeds of trust. The next one is a limited deed.
Yeah, I've never seen this before.
And it's kind of a definition, a catch-all. But once again, this is where you can get a deed on a property, and the grantor, the person that's selling the property, makes no claims about providing any type of warranty on their title. So in an instance like that, it becomes even more important to at least do your
We don't want to do that.
No, you want to do your due diligence. Special warranty deed. Now, this is a case where the seller is conveying the property, and he's not providing all of the warranties. All he's saying is that he can sell the property. He's the legal owner, and he knows of no other issues.
He didn't know anything occur, and then it's not going to be his responsible if occur. Well, that's even scary because,
but you still, to me, that where I saw that one was more along the lines of when you had a foreclosure and a bank was selling it.
Yeah,
because the bank did not have the same type of ownership that an individual would have. They had foreclosed on it. Now it was their property, and whatever happened before they took it, they don't care. So all the more reason if you're a buyer under those circumstances,
I see.
You want to go through escrow. You want title insurance and a title commitment.
Right, definitely. Yeah,
and
because
let's go back one more. We'll kind of go through that list real quick. Bargain and sale.
Yes.
This is another one where foreclosure, depending on what kind of legal action and foreclosures and everything, that's another one of those limited or no liability types of deeds.
So all those are for property or not like a personal property, right?
No, for real estate.
Real estate, right?
Yep. Yeah. And then, of course, the quitclaim deed.
Quitclaim deed, I see that.
Where you see that is, maybe you got family members. One of them's got a claim on the property, but they work out a side deal with a brother, or maybe you have a divorce, and in the divorce decree, one. But
why they grant deed they can transfer one to the other? So the quitclaim deed. So quitclaim is like take the name out.
That's right. You've already got the two people or multiple people on the deed.
Took one out.
So now you're just they're quitting their claim
out
on that deed.
I see.
And then of course we talked about deeds of trust.
Deed of trust,
and the trustee's deed, reconveyance deed. Once again, that's
after the loan paid off.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So.
In fact, what you want to make sure if you've paid off your loan on your house, you want to make sure that the lender and the title company sign off, and that deed of reconveyance goes into the county to show that you're the sole owner, that there is no trustee or trustor, that loan is completely
It's
paid
scary.
off.
Like one time, it's happened though. We sold his property, and the real estate mortgage. I mean, the mortgage company sent the deed, and we don't even know it's like they thought a copy only, but those are original, and we didn't get to record it for like a few years later. That's and then we have to send to the title, do all kind of things for them to kind of check out and find out if that's the right thing to record. If not, then the lien is still there. Right? Yeah.
So when you're doing some of these deeds, it behooves you to make sure that you're recording it, especially if it's some of those that the title company is not going to handle. You know, like the quick claim or some of those others.
No, they don't.
You need if you're part to it, and you're going to have a continuing interest, you need to go out there and make sure that you go down to the county attorney's office or county recorder's office.
County recorder.
I think we've got a sample of what a deed looks like from the county.
Yeah, the county.
One more forward.
Is that a different type?
There we go.
So that's the deed.
Okay, so
warranty deed right there.
So that's a warranty deed, and as we said, that's warranty. So
warranty. Everything warranty.
It's warranted to protect you.
Okay.
And so that deed actually went through. I know because I know whose deed it is. But I know that deed went through. It went through a title company. The title report was done.
Right.
Title insurance was given to both parties. And then that little symbol up there in the upper right-hand corner, that's the symbol that it's been accepted by the
clerk office,
the recorder's office.
Or they call the office of the county.
Now, one thing I might point out, suppose you do something like a quick claim deed or one of those other deeds where you don't have warranties and you don't go through the account, or it doesn't go through a title company.
Right.
You need to make sure it gets recorded. But just because that sale occurs now, and you go 2 years down the road and oh gosh, I need to record this.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that somebody can sneak in and take it over, but you do need to get it recorded.
Just like, let's say the man take title as a married man as his sole and separate property, and then the wife signed the quitclaim deed and he never recorded. So then when they sell the property, the wife had to sign it again, or
well. You're kind of mixing things in there because if he took title on the original one as his sole and separate property, there's no need for a quick claim deed.
Okay.
Because she's not on there.
But there's what kind of paperwork that proves that she acknowledged that?
There's typically a separate form that has to be signed and notarized by the wife, saying that she's given up her rights for community property.
Okay. But the escrow never just closed it without that piece of paper, correct?
Oh, I haven't seen that because that's one of those things where if they don't have that agreement from the spouse, that can instantly create a cloud on the title.
Yeah, because the spouse can go on and ask for it.
Yeah, and because once again, we're a community property state.
Right. Yes, automatically for that. So I think like because I live in California before, so that I hardly see like all this name. I see a lot with the grantee, quitclaim deed, trustee, the deed limited, no warranty, special warranty deed, bargain and sale deed. It's really new. So they use in Arizona, they use all that form.
A lot of states use those, but I would say the most common here in Arizona, if we can go back to that list one more time on the list of deeds. The most common ones that you're going to see are going to be the warranty deed. And as I said, I did see some special warranty deeds during the foreclosure time, but those were primarily from the banks. Quick claim deeds are, there we go. The quick claim deeds are typically between family members, or all you're doing is you're just removing one person out from the group. Of the ownerships. Yeah. And then of course, the grant deed is not nearly so common here. The mortgage deed is not done here because once again, we're a deed of trust state, and the bargain and sale deed is kind of similar to, I kind of put it in, it's the good old boy system, where it's
Yeah.
where the laws are not as
Right.
specific in some states, but it's still a legal way
still a legal
of
way?
transferring property in some states.
Wow, really? Yeah.
But
so,
once again,
so,
you don't have the protection of a warranty.
a warranty. But like let's say who want to sign that? I mean, like that's only protect in one way from the seller point. It's only protect the seller. So we want to sign something where it transfer and you have that piece of property. You get fully using those. It's not like half and half, or later on down the line you find out something pop up mechanically, whatever the case, right? It's happening.
That bargain and sale deed. In my mind, that's more common where you got two farmers, and their families have owned those properties for 100 years,
right?
And they know it. They've known each other all their life. Their parents knew the neighbors all their lives. And one farmer A says to farmer B, "Hey, you want to buy my property?"
Yeah.
We don't need to go to a title company. He sells it to the other farmer.
Yeah.
So they don't. Both of them. They kind of agree. They don't at that
They
stage.
don't check. They don't.
Yeah. They don't need to go through all the steps.
Yeah.
On the other hand, because if we're buying homes in subdivisions, and let's face it, over the years or every 7 years is a typical moving time for people across the country.
But difficult for the farm because their land is really has no boundary. So they divide it. They know easement. They know which part.
Yes,
because
they
they
do.
have how many acre and then stop where and all that.
Yes, they do.
They do that.
So, and if there's a question on where the boundaries are, then you get a survey. And when you get with any of these properties, we showed that picture of what it looks like for the warranty deed. Attached to as the very last page for the warranty deed, it's typically labeled Exhibit A.
Exhibit A, yeah, that's
and
the description.
That is the legal description of the property, and so it gives the boundary.
Where
lines.
is like from where, with book, with where, stop
Exactly.
where. Oh.
One thing I might add, and when somebody is looking at a purchase contract,
Yes.
a piece of property is usually described in three separate ways. One is the most common, which is street address.
Street address, yes.
The second one is the assessor's parcel number,
Right.
which everybody sees when they get
which one.
their taxes.
Right.
And then the last way is the actual legal description.
Okay.
So those three things are typically on a purchase contract. You may not see them in the deed. Typically, it's only the legal description that's in the deed.
Oh, okay.
But when you get your taxes, you'll see the assessor's
APN.
parcel, the APN.
The APN. We can request them included in there, like the APN number?
Generally, they don't do that.
They don't.
But I will say one thing.
Yeah.
You can go on the county's site
Yeah.
and you can get copies of the recorded documents for a property. And you can look it up by the APN number and you can see what the taxes have been. So if you know those descriptions of the property, even the address, you can go into the county's sites and pull that information up and do a little bit of research yourself if you're interested in the property.
Yeah, because it's important with the APN because you purchased the property and then ended up that property didn't have this, that, whatever that in your mind.
Yeah.
Or, a lot of people say the neighbor say that's my land and then, all the things.
Yeah, and that's why you want to make sure that you really have a good legal description. And if there's any question, you need to have a surveyor come out. And the surveyors will mark the property lines so that there's no dispute.
Where you can find a survey, like you go to the state, you go to the clerk hall to ask for it, or city hall.
Actually, you can get online. You can get a referral for a surveyor is just another. They're another.
It's not like work by the state, right? It's a work by individual.
They're individuals,
Private
and a lot of civil engineering companies will have surveyors on their staff. Like anybody that's doing road work, they're going to have a
civil
surveyor.
engineer.
They'll have a civil engineer who's doing the engineering work, but they will have surveyors on staff to make sure that when that road bed goes in, that it's in the exact right spot.
Yeah,
But-
they don't go further,
Yeah.
jump into people.
But there's surveyors out there. You can Google them. If you need a referral, over the years, I've had some excellent surveyors that I've gone to for my own properties, and they all follow the same rules and regulations, and they're regulated by the state as well.
It's really a lot of different situation out there for the
Yes.
for the property. It's not simple. It's like a house or a condo, but there are many out there too.
Yep.
As we talk, I mean, like a lot of things that now the trust investment, like buy the trust, lend the money, and all those investment, all those little investment,
Yes.
and they make profit for those.
Yes, and like we've already discussed, everything that you do when you're buying the property, you're trying to minimize risk.
Right.
For yourself. The lenders are going to take care of themselves because they're going to insist that some of these steps are done before they go ahead and do a deed of trust. And of course, the promissory note is actually where you're borrowing the money.
Like if somebody that they are so busy and they have the whole bunch of paperwork, they're not gonna be able to read line by line. Like they just let's get it done. And they just sign, they just know the number, and they trust the agent will guide them to the right way and all that. Because I see people did read page to page, word by word.
Yep.
Take them forever. Talking about like a whole month to understand the whole things, the whole package of everything.
And you know what?
The transaction.
If you're truly doing your due diligence, you read it line by line. And I know
overwhelmed.
it can be overwhelming. Definitely can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But let's put it this way. It's worthwhile to take the time to make sure that you understand what's in that document before you sign, as opposed to having a bad day when you realize I signed something and I wish I hadn't.
Yeah. It's happened. Yeah. I mean, especially me, it happened all the time. Like sometimes I just trust, and I sign, and later on I pay for it. It's just like, I know like most people out there, the same thing, they go by, they like the salesman say that, and like buying a car or buying something else, like a piece, anything, or they do like construction, whatever, and they just tell you, and and then you sign it. You don't even read exactly whatever the verbal, or I mean, whatever they say is matching with whatever they show, right?
Yep.
So I keep making mistakes, same all over again, because of like trusting, like looking
Caveat emptor, buyer beware. So, the key thing there is to go with reputable people. So if you go with the reputable title company, as we talked about last week, in the title report, there's usually a section B, and that will tell you the items that the title company wants satisfied before they will issue title insurance. They'll ask for things like, if, say you had a divorce decree and there wasn't a quick claim deed done, that needs to be done. If there were taxes and they were in arrears, the taxes have to be paid. So all of those little odds and ends, it's really key to have that taken care of by the title company, so that you're aware of them, and both, it can affect both parties. So all of that needs to kind of be pulled together, and the title company, before they will close the document or close the transaction,
they have to review those.
They have to review it, and they have to make sure that all those things are taken
because
care of.
like if the person taking a title as a seller, taking title as a single person, but he is actually married, but they never change or anything, and then later on the spouse come over and asking for the information from the new buyer. It's a mess. It's just a mess for that. But that's not going to be a fault for the escrow company, because he claimed that he's single.
Well, then that leads you to the point of, if he knew he was married,
and then he put down he's single,
and he puts down he's single, what's he done? Fraud.
Yeah.
So that could lead to a legal action.
To legal action. Yeah.
But what I've seen with title companies, every time I've had a situation where one spouse wanted to have it as their sole and separate property, the title company's been over backwards to make sure that other spouse came in, they understood what was going to happen, and they acknowledged it in writing, and it was notarized.
Yeah. That should be. That should be the way to protect everyone, include the new buyer.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think like we So many, but we out of time again, Scott.
Well, it goes quickly.
I know. Like, there's many things that we want to know. Even though we thought like, okay, it's just single like purchase or buying and selling, but there's many detail in there
There's
that if we
details.
don't discover, then we're not gonna be able to understand them all, right?
Well,
yeah. So
and people have good intentions,
Yeah.
but sometimes when you shortcut things or try to do things too quickly,
yes,
you miss things. And real estate sales transactions, you know, this is one of those types of businesses where the old phrase, the devil is in the details,
Yeah.
it truly is.
wow, yep, it is.
So, you know, I make this offer to anybody. If you can put my information up there. If you need to contact me about
Yes.
any questions,
Mhm.
or if you have
Any
you
question?
wanna,
Yeah.
if you have a question, if you want to get information on properties that are available out there, if you want a copy of the buyer's advisory, my name, phone number, and there's my email address.
Right.
And so I'll answer back to anybody, and I'd be happy to help anybody out.
Yeah, and Scott's really good individual. He's very detailing individual. So I hope that all the information that we discussed today will bring like a lies up to the knowledge for people out there. And we will anyone, if you have any other question that you want to bring out the situation so we can discuss out for everybody to listen and learn from it, then we'll feel free to email us at vaatv.com at gmail.com or every time when we on, because we will on air every week, like every Thursday about 6 o'clock. You guys can come up and join us with the live streaming. And thank you so much for watching VAA TV, and thank you to Scott that
Thank you.
spent time to get all the document and the explanation to everyone. And we'll see you next time. Bye
Good night.
bye.
LinhVi xin cảm ơn sự theo dõi của tất cả quý vị trong những giây phút vừa qua. Chương trình VAA TV xin kính chào, tạm biệt và xin hẹn gặp lại quý vị vào lần phát hình kỳ tới. Mọi chi tiết về thông tin thương mại và bảo trợ, xin mời quý vị hãy liên lạc về địa chỉ email vaatelevision@gmail.com và số điện thoại là 480 289 9816 480 289 9816, website vaatv.com và vaaznews.com. Xin kính chào, tạm biệt.